Welcome back, guys. My name is Fernandoherrera, and yesterday the stock market felt like a deja vu from 2020. Horrible closing numbers. We also saw some pretty bad numbers for the crypto market as well. Bitcoin hit $29,000 again, and the Dow closed with over 700 points in the red. So I decided to focus my Crypto Tuesday or Investing Tuesday video on my channel to gather up some tips that I've gathered pretty much for the past years, and I want to share them with you because they might be applicable in these circumstances. In just a few moments, I'll be talking the ways you can raise cash in moments like these, such a bearish market condition, how to stop yourself from selling all your heavy losers, which you don't want to do, and the best way to buy the dip or at least get close to buying the dip. Just a basic rule of thumb here, guys. Don't never ever listen to just some random guy on YouTube, so be sure to do your own research before implementing any sort of strategy. It's just good practice. Also, before we start, don't forget to help me out with smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribing. Like I said before, I do post every week specifically about cryptocurrencies or stock investing tips. So if you want, or if you like this video, if you decide, you can definitely subscribe and follow me through this journey. Also, I got a coworker who just turned 18 like some days ago, and he reached out to me and told me, hey, what's the best platform to start trading? So I recommended Webull because Webull right now is giving out free stocks that I told him you should definitely take advantage of. This only when you deposit $100. Webull does allow you to trade most of the stocks out there and allows you to trade cryptocurrency. Not the best cryptocurrency trading platform out there. However, it's a great way to just get started. So again, for a limited time, get 4 free stocks. It's like free money, guys. So that's the one I recommended to him. If you do want to start with Webull, please feel free to use my referral code in the description below. And again, that way we could both get 4 free stocks. That's a great way to support the channel too. Now, per year, I personally pay a hefty amount of fees in subscriptions. And these subscriptions are not your typical Netflix or Disney Plus. These are subscriptions that provide me with data and information to better get an understanding of how the economy is doing and what sort of investments I should do. And let me tell you this, almost all these subscriptions I pay that share their buying calls or sells have a rule for managing their cash. Jim Cramer has this specific rule saying that if he's going to be buying something, he needs to take something off the table. You cannot just magically generate money. So he's a firm believer that, again, if you want to buy some of Ford's stock and you don't have any sort of cash, or even if you do have cash, it's good practice to sell something to buy something. You never want to be just buying because you'll run out of cash. And when you do have a good idea or when you do have a good opportunity to buy something, you just won't have any cash to take advantage of that opportunity. So in a stock market, there will always be bull markets, bear markets, and the idea is to invest and buy low on the bears. And once the stock becomes a bull, you sell high. Then you keep doing the same thing, but just switch asset categories. So again, if before you bought into healthcare, maybe it might be a good time to get into tech and so on and so forth. Keep in mind that I'm not talking about day trading, but simply being disciplined and having a plan when buying and selling. So for example, last week I sold some of my Goldman Sachs stock, which was a bear when I bought it, has recently become a bull. I sold some of that to buy some of the CRM, which is Salesforce, which has been a bear for quite some time now. So that's a good example of, me buying a bear, it became a bull. I sold it to buy another bear, in a different category, right? In a different industry. But anyways, let's go ahead and start, guys. So tip number 1 I have is always manage your cash and have 10%. When you invest, the entire value of your stocks plus your cash means your total value of your portfolio. That's a portfolio. It is a good practice to keep at least 10% of the total value of your portfolio. So for example, if you have $100 that you're investing, you should at least have $10 in cash. If you have $10,000, you should at least have $1,000 in cash. And this is at all times. So it's just that cushion I'm telling you about. The reason you want to do this is because if there's a sudden drop, like for example yesterday, if you don't have any cash available to go in and buy the dip, you will be very tempted in doing some other things that may not be very beneficial to you. So for example, you could deposit more money, which may add emotional stress into your investing practices. or you might just sell out of fear because you're missing out on a different stock, take the loss, and then it's just not a good practice to do. So you always want to keep at least 10% of your cash available so that when a bear market or a good opportunity comes, you're ready to buy the dip. Tip number 2 is buy 5%. And this applies to two things, but the first thing I'm going to cover is when you buy a stock, you should only buy it using 5% of your cash available fund. In other words, if you have $1,000 of cash available and you want to buy some Ford stock, you probably should not be buying more than $50 worth of Ford stock. This will prevent you from overspending and buying too much at one specific point, since the best way is to buy or increase your position in small chunks rather than a big chunk at once. The second thing about this 5% rule is don't hold a stock that's over 5% of the value of your entire portfolio. If you have 10 different company stocks in your portfolio, you want to make sure that none of them are at least 5% or above the entire value. For example, if your portfolio is worth $10,000, you should have $1,000 in cash, and none of your current holdings should be worth more than $500 in value. If one of them is, then it's kind of telling you gotta trim that one down, or you gotta lock in some gains, or you're just very exposed to risks to that specific stock. Now, you don't have to follow this to the T. In my personal experience, I sometimes have 8, 9, up to 10% value of certain stocks. However, it does reduce the risk of being too emotional to any one particular stock or company. And when you get too emotional, you tend to either sell early, buy early, or do some very dumb or unnecessary things. Tip number 3 is going to be dollar cost averaging. This is a very common term used by others, and I'm sure you probably heard it before already. But like I said previously on another point, if you're tempted in buying stock, don't just go in and say, I have $500 worth of stock that I can buy. I'm just gonna go in and buy $500 right now. What you wanna do is say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna split these $500 into 5 payments. I'm gonna be investing $100 into this stock every single week for the next 5 weeks or for the next 5 months. And that way you kind of guarantee to get a cost average rather than one specific price. With this, you will have a higher possibility of actually getting a better price or getting closer to that dip rather than just that one shot you got. Tip number 4 will be aware of YouTube advice. Now, I'm not talking about investing strategies or financial education or specific tips that can actually help you becoming a better person or making better decisions when investing in stocks or cryptocurrency, but I'm talking about specific YouTube channels that promote specific stocks or specific companies of a stock. And when you buy them, they simply don't perform as you thought they would, and you end up losing money. Keep in mind that everybody has a different risk tolerance rate. Everybody has a different timeline. Some people are trading in the short term, some people are trading in the long term. And so if someone on YouTube has a longer term strategy and you're looking more for a short term day trader kind of strategy, then that long term strategy may not work very well for you. That may end up costing you money because you're looking to make money within, the next 6 months. Now, for those of you who don't know, a short-term trader is someone who normally buys low and sells high within the next, 2-3 months and tries to do this as many times to generate wealth. A long-term investor is someone who buys a stock with the purpose of selling it or doing something with it within probably 12 months from now. So really buying it 1 or 5% higher or lower is important, but it's probably not as material as it would be to a day trader. Personally speaking, I prefer long-term investing, so you will see that most of my investing tips or strategies are focused or aimed towards long-term investing, because I'll be honest with you, that's where I've seen most of my money being made. When I used to day trade or short-term trade, it was just not very good. I kept losing money, and it was consistently me losing $2,000 to $3,000 to $5,000 a year. Ever since I started doing more long-term investing, I've actually been able to make more money that way. But to summarize that point, just be aware of advice and be aware of your timeframes and your investing strategy. So whenever you're thinking of buying something, like I said before, consider selling something too, or at least ask yourself, is any one of my stocks over 10% of my portfolio? Has any one of these stocks that are above 10% or within this percentage had a bull run recently? And can I lock in some gains? But again, this is just some food for thought. This is just, some piece of advice that hopefully will allow you to understand more how to get more cash for days like yesterday so that you can buy in, buy the dip, and then hopefully sell when they become bulls. Now, which of these tips do you already do, or which of these tips do you follow? Let me know in the comment sections below. Also, if you have some tips that might be useful, feel free to drop them in the comments as well, and I'll be more than happy to review them and read them, check them out. Next week, I will be opening my portfolio to you guys in my Tuesday investing video. So I'll be showing you what I'm buying, what I'm selling, and what has been the progress ever since I started. So be sure to stick around. Don't forget to smash that like button for me and also subscribe. Thank you so much guys for watching until the end. I'll see you guys next time. Have a peaceful week.